Hello, Merry Meet. So I hope you have had a very nice Christmas and are enjoying the time between Christmas and New Year's. We call it between Christmas. I'm not exactly sure if the United States and England do the same, but in Norway at least we celebrate the entire week between Christmas and New Year. But yeah, I want to review a book. And the book I want to review is Llewellyn's 2019 Witch's Companion, a guide to contemporary living. And I really love this book. It's really good. So yeah, basically these are one of the books that I like to call an almanac, but it isn't really. There are like 5 pages. No, there's 12. There's 12 because there's one for each month. This sort of calendar stuff is in the back of the book, 12 pages in the back of the book. That's the only part of it that is relevant only for 2019. The rest are basically a lot of articles about various topics within witchcraft and paganism. And you could get this at any year. It would be just as relevant. So it's basically like a magazine in a book format. That's what it is. And every time you get in those sort of anthologies of articles, there's always some you like and some you don't. But all in all, I think we got a really good crop this year, and I think it's only like 2 of them I wasn't really happy about. So yeah, let's go through what we have, shall we? We have one from Deborah Lipp. Am I under a curse and what I should do about it? It's pretty good. It basically discusses how rare a curse is, but if you feel like you are under a curse, these are the various cleansings you can do. Then you have Susan Penchecker. Blogs, books, columns, and essays, how to write for a pagan marketplace. I actually like this very much. It's more directed towards writing generally. You don't need to be pagan to enjoy that one, but there's good advice there for how to write, whatever it is, a book or an article, whatever you want to write. Then you have Laura Tempest Sakharov, A Witch's Guide to Essential Etiquette. It's basically some basic do's and don'ts when dealing with other pagans. And there's no this is the etiquette from 300 years ago, where every time we meet another witch, we find a porcupine and anoint it with oils and fuck the other person up the ass with it. And there's nothing like this. It's basically a lot of things. Basically, how not to be extremely inflammatory. How is it a good way to word things? How do you behave at a gathering? Don't just slobber all over everybody else's tarot cards. Those kinds of pretty basic things. Then you have Getting in the Flow of Magic Work, is basically a nice little article about what is it called again? Brain fog. It's basically about living in the now and living in the moment rather than being trapped by the past or looking to the future. And it's written by Raven Digitalis, who I really enjoy. Then we have somebody named J Variable X/E. This person here. He just written The Magical Manager, about how to bring magic into your work life, from little charms on your cubicle desk to how to find a job magically. Pretty interesting. And then you have Kerry Connor, Roadkill, A Pagan Perspective, which basically both talks about how you can glean information from the animals that cross your path, and especially animals that you might find that have lost their lives, and also how to respect and honor those animals instead of just seeing them as something worthless along the road. Then we have Elizabeth Barrett, relaxation for the busy witch, which has some techniques and exercises for relaxation, which you can all need sometimes. Then you have Melissa Tipton, Unlocking the Magical Power of Polarity, which discusses, well, basically polarity and how you can use that almost like a system within itself to power spells. It's a little bit hard to explain, but the article is pretty interesting. Recommend reading that. Then you have Tess Whitehurst, that has written Chakra Spells, which is exactly what you can imagine. It's a little spell for each chakra. Some of them are good, and others are. We have seen this in 1,000 books before. It's one of the weaker articles in the collection, but it's not horrible. Then we have Melanie Marquise, Self-Love and with Magical Power, which is basically systems and spells and rituals for getting better self-esteem. And then we have a similar article by Monica Prosson, Conjuring Confidence, which is actually exactly the same thing. Then you have Carolyn Walls, Curing a Magical Hangover. I guess that if this is a huge problem for you, then it might be a nice article. But to me, she conjures a storm in a water glass. It's basically about how it is so horrible that once you have done spellcraft and so you have a giant drop and you lose all your energy. I mean, okay. Yes, when I work a lot of magic, if I do a big ritual, I can get a bit fatigued, or alternately, I can get a little bit hyper and go get it, and then you ground and you're fine. Sure, I have experienced what she has said. There is this really oompy energy channeling exercise, I know. And the first time I did that, I got so sick, I was vomiting all night. So that can happen, but she sort of presents it as this is the only, this happens every time, and go into length about how horrible it is when she has been to a pagan gathering, and then knowing that it will be months before she can go to another one. It's a bit whiny. Yes, I think we'll call it that. And then we have Witching on the Cheap, which is basically about various tools and stuff that you can get that will cost you very little, which is always useful, because yes, we do want those really, really, really gorgeous tools, but it can be done on the cheap as well, and often just as easily. Fold in the Magic. This is one by Lexa Olek. It's a really good one. It's basically about how her grandmother would put little flowers with blessings when she was folding clothing after she had washed them. And she has basically the same idea, where you use... she has presented a pattern for origami necklace that you can put a spell in, but basically how you can use the act of folding something to fold magic in. That's really cool. You could extrapolate from that and use that when you, for example, fold the dry ingredients into the wet ingredients for cooking, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's useful. Then you have Emmeline Carolyn, by using pop culture magic in your daily practice. I love pop culture magic, and I love that pop culture magic has become popular enough that it gets articles in mainstream publications like this, and not just in little strange books that people like me search for. The article isn't good though, because it's not defined enough. But I love that it's there anyway. Then you have Peg Alloy. I think that's how it's to be pronounced. The Power of Color for Magic and Healing, which is basically color magic. A brief little introduction to color magic. Then you have Deborah Castellano, Introduction to Glamour Magic. I hate that article. It's the worst article in the entire. Because A, she is extremely rude and confrontational within the text. Basically, one thing that I really hate, for example, is that she's saying, oh, so you aren't dying and you can't feed yourself, then time to get off your butt, because it couldn't be any other problem you have. Then your life is just perfect. You couldn't possibly have a psychological issue or a relationship issue or any other issue. And yeah, she also, what she describes really isn't glamour. Because I have worked glamour magic, it can be quite interesting and quite effective. What she describes really isn't that. It's more of a, how should I describe it? Guess you could fit it into glamour magic. I'm not sure. It's just her going off. Fuck that article. Then you have Dr. Alexandra Cowron. How to use the Wheel of the Year for daily practice. I love this one. Basically, one thing I really like about the Telemite practice is that I have a daily ritual that I call Resh, which basically greets the sun at 4 points in the day. And this basically have the same thing, only it's 8 of them, where you basically greet the 4 points of the Sabbaths through the 8 points of the Sabbath through the day. I really actually love that, and I would actually really like to start doing that. It's a very interesting article. Then you have James Campbell's that has an article named Spell Check, which is basically you cast a spell, you didn't get what you wanted. What did you do wrong? It's pretty good. Then you have Charlie Rainbow Wolf, making and using witch stones. It's really good. It describes exactly that. I just wish that I had drawings of the symbols. There are a lot of nice drawings in here, but for a few of the craft projects, it would be nice if I had illustrations on them, because at least for me, learning crafts just from the description in words, it's much harder than learning it from descriptions in words and then illustrations. But that's my only complaint. Other than that, it's a really good article about witch stones. Then we have Scrying Made Easy, using everyday objects to build your skill. I love that article. I love it because I've been doing that. And I mean, I've been scrying for years, but I'm not really good at it. I have crystal balls, and both real ones and in glass, and I have a black mirror. Yeah. I'm not really good at it. I can get some results, but I'm not really good at it. But what I am good at is staring at a brick wall and scrying with that. So yeah, I'm just staring at the wall, and preferably a brick wall or some other wall that has a bit of texture. Boom, I'm there. But your traditional scrying balls, scrying mirrors, scrying bowls of various sorts, yeah, it works, but it's not my go-to divination system. Your wall, though, I can do with that, and this is really good. It's basically how to scry with a towel, how to using anything that works. I like it. And then we have Stephanie Woodfield, devotional practice, caring for the sacred land, which is basically how it can be a spiritual practice for a pagan person to go out and care for nature, removing garbage and doing what that land needs to bloom and grow. And then we have Esta McNevin, how to create a magic broom cupboard. I actually like this really much. It's not just about brooms, it's about cleaning your house as a magical practice. Now here's why this is a good one for me. Let me just explain a bit about Asperger's syndrome. We tend to be extremely focused on one thing, one special interest. And everything that fits into that special interest, we learn it very fast. We're good at it. We like it. Everything else, not so much. So I have a bit of a problem keeping my house in order. I shall not lie, I definitely do. It's a mess. It looks, in my mother's words, like a bombed whorehouse. I think that if I can manage to find a way to make cleaning a magical act, it will be a lot easier for me to just fit that into my interest and keep things nice and clean. So yeah, it's about that. Making your broom cupboard a magical place and making cleaning your house a magical practice. I really like it. It's very well written also. And then we have Vox Magiae, using the voice as a magical tool. It's an interesting article, but unless you are good with notes and can read sheet music, you might not get too much out of it. You really need to read sheet music, and unfortunately, there's a lot of years since I was reading sheet music. I did learn it at school, but I'm pretty rusty. Then you have the lunar calendar. So yeah, that is what's in the book. Other than basically one article that's sort of lackluster and one that I really hate. These are just filled with little gems about paganism, and I love it. I really like this book. There's so many great little articles. They're not very long. They go from a couple of pages to perhaps 10 pages long. But there's lots of information here about how to basically live a pagan life. And it's a good book for those that are just tired of the run-of-the-mill beginner's pagan guides, and who want to have something that just goes into depth about various little topics. And you have that here. So yes, it's illustrated by these really nice drawings throughout. Let me find a couple of other ones. Come on, drawings, I know you're there. And that's really my only complaint, that the drawings are beautiful, but some sections that should have drawings lack them, especially there's two craft projects here. One is for a origami pendant, and I did manage to figure that one out. And yeah, yay. Good. But illustrations would have made it a lot easier. And then there are about how to make witch stones. Now, I have read other books about witch stones. I have a general idea about how they look, but you don't really get that. They are sort of pictured in the introduction picture to the section, but not all of them. So you will need the internet with that section so that you can go online, find pictures of the witch stones and make it from there. That's my only complaint. This is a really, really good book and one of the best in the series. So yeah, that is Llewellyn's 2019's Witch's Companion, a guide to contemporary living. And it's a magazine, people. You don't have to read it in 2019. If you watch this in 2022 and you decide you like these articles, just search up this book. It'll probably be very cheap by then. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this review. Have a continued good Christmas and Happy New Year's, and blessed be.